So glad so many of you made it this morning. This was hard work. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope it'll be worthwhile. I think it will. I think this is a terrific group of people on our panel. So let me start with just a little bit of background on action research. We're going to, between the four of us, give you some nitty-gritty about action research, but I wanted to situate it. But I want to start, actually, by telling you two stories. One is when I interviewed for the dean, being senior VP at Erickson, I went through a lot of the work that I've done with action research, showing my books, talking about what we've been doing and stuff. And the president said, when the question and answer time came, "Is it real research?" And this is, as I want to say to you, the crux of what we need to address, but at the same time, it has so many antecedents that you can feel totally comfortable that you are doing real research. Okay, that's one. The other thing is, I told two of my colleagues here earlier, 10 years ago when I began working with the Teachers Network Leadership Institute, these are teachers around the country who are doing action research in their classrooms, and these are just normal, average, everyday teachers doing research in their classrooms, but they come together in a network, and what happens is we leverage that research to affect education policy. Well, 10 years ago when I began doing this work with the teachers, most people were very skeptical about teacher research at all. In April, an issue of the Teachers College Record is coming out, and it's all focused on teacher research. And it's all full of articles written by teachers. So I'm very proud of that. Okay, now, what is action research? Because that's a piece of that's where teacher research comes from, is action research. And as we just heard, it is about inquiry. You have to, as a teacher, an action researcher is somebody who has developed an inquiry stance. And in many areas, you look around the world, a lot of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, use action research as a way of determining what the impact of their policies are as they sort of hit the ground. So if you're distributing food, with the World Health Organization or UNESCO, you want to know whether the delivery systems you've set up and the policies you've set up, to reach certain groups of people actually are working. And action research is the way they find out whether their policies are really working, whether the people whom they've designated are really getting the material. It's typically, not just in teaching, but action research is typically conducted by practitioners, by the people who are actually doing the work, who analyze the data from their workplace to improve their own practice. They're not generally trying to improve the entire organization. They want to make sure that in their special area, they are doing the best job they can. I had a colleague of mine who's the head of surgery in Westchester County in New York, where I live part of my life. And he is getting his students in surgery to do action research because he wants to see them very consciously inquiring around their practice. And it's a very different kind of research than most of us think. Often when I begin with teachers, they have thought of, their chemistry classes or their biology classes, or they've thought of those long history papers where they spent 27 hours in the library, looking up ancient documents. This is not that. This is something that you as teachers are doing every single day. David Berliner, I think, quantified the number of questions that we ask in a minute. It's just incredible how much, as a teacher, the kinds of questions we're asking. I'm looking around the room right now and seeing who's looking at me. Now, it doesn't mean that you're paying attention, but that you've learned to play the game. So, but that at least keeps me going, okay? If everybody had their head down like this, I think, oh my goodness, Frances, what are you doing? But that's a piece of action research. I'm out there collecting data. I'm like, okay, this side of the room is awake. Now I gotta get quick. That's not so. This side is too. But the thing is that you're doing that kind of thing. I was an early childhood teacher. I would move around the room. I would take notes twice a day, just to see where kids were, because my kids were making decisions about their time, so that I could shape the classroom so that their decisions were decisions that really worked for them. This kind of thing is what action researchers are doing. Action research draws on a number of very rich research traditions. One is anthropology. If you go back and read Margaret Mead, you will see that she was doing very rich, very on-the-ground research. That's a quality that comes with action research. It's rich, it's embedded in a context, and it's on the ground. Education, of course. Social work is another area where action research, where qualitative research is very important. Action research is not, you're going to do some counting. I hate to tell you this. You do not have to be a statistics maven, but you do need to be able to do percents, and you do need to be able to add, and you do need to be able to represent the data that you are gathering. So there's some quantification in there, but it is generally a qualitative research piece. And it's used broadly to support decision making, as I said. Now, is it real research? Yes, of course. And I could answer that with no problem when that question came up. One of the things, any of you taking research courses, particularly at the doctoral level, will get very nervous about issues like reliability, validity, replicability, generalizability. Okay, let's hit them now, okay? Reliability. That concerns the consistency of your methods, okay? Are your methods reliable? Are they the appropriate methods? So, as a teacher, let me tell you a couple things that I did regularly. I would do time samples in my classroom, okay? Regularly, like every 10 minutes, well, I'll tell you about my first year of teaching. My first year of teaching, I cried on Sunday nights that Monday was coming. I only had children 3 to 6. I mean, I have sisters who are teachers and they're like, she doesn't even know. But I did know. I was miserable. And I had to take a research course at Teachers College, Columbia, and I was in a class of 60 people, and we were told we were going to do research, and I was like, oh boy. So I went to the professor and I said, what can I do? I just started teaching, And she said, why don't you just every 10 minutes write down where you are? Well, it took me a day, less than a day, to realize that I was rewarding misbehavior like it was the only game in town.